Namaste dear learners, I welcome you all to our series of video lessons on the syllabus of BA 3rd semester optional English, Rani Chennamma University, Belagavi. Today we are going to discuss a poem called The Lotus Eaters, which is written by Alfred Lord Tennyson, and in this present video we will see the introductory notes about the poet and the poem, and in our next video session we will discuss the poem thoroughly. Alfred Lord Tennyson was born in 1809 in England and died in 1892 in England. He is an English poet and he is regarded as the chief representative of the Victorian age in poetry. He is a representative of Victorian age in poetry. He was the most renowned poet of the Victorian era. His In Memoriam, which was written in 1850, contains the line, "It is better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." These lines cemented his reputation in the history of English literature. He was Queen Victoria's Poet Laureate from 1850 until his death in 1892. Tennyson published his first solo collection of poems chiefly lyrical, in 1830. Tennyson is described by some critics as overly sentimental, and his verse soon proved popular and brought Tennyson to the attention of well-known writers of the day, including Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Tennyson's early poetry, with its medievalism and powerful visual imagery, was a major influence on the pre-Raphaelite brotherhood of poetry. His important works are Break, 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 The Charge of the Light Brigade, Tears, Idle Tears, Crossing the Bar. Much of his poetry was based on classical mythological themes such as Ulysses. He takes his themes from mythological themes such as Ulysses. He was a poet laureate of England. He appointed in 1850 as poet laureate after William Wordsworth's death, and because Samuel Roger's refusal, he became the poet laureate of England. He held the position of poet laureate until his own death in 1892, which can be considered as the longest tenure of any laureate. Tennyson fulfilled the requirements of this position, such as by authoring a poem of greeting to Princess Alexandra of Denmark when she arrived in Britain. In 1855, Tennyson produced one of his best known works, The Charge of the Light Brigade, which is a dramatic tribute to the British army involved in an ill-advised charge on 25th of October 1854 during the Crimean War. Other works of Tennyson are Ode on the Death of the Duke of Wellington and Ode sung at the opening of the international exhibition. Now we will see an introductory note about the poem The Lotus Eaters. It is a poem by Alfred Tennyson and it was published in 1832. It was inspired by his trip to Spain with his close friend Arthur Hallam, where they visited the Pyrenees Mountains. The poem is an inspiration. He got inspiration to write this poem when he visited Spain. The present poem describes a group of mariners who, upon eating the lotus, are put into an altered state and isolated from the outside world. The title and concept derives from the lotus eaters in Greek mythology. The present poem is based on a Greek mythology wherein some of the mariners visited a place and ate the lotus of that place, and they fell asleep for a long time. In the summer of 1829, Tennyson and Arthur Hallam made a trek into conflict-torn northern Spain. The scenery and experience influenced a few of his poems, including On Ene, The Lotus Eaters, and Mariana in the South. These three poems and some others were later revised for Tennyson's 1842 collection of poetry. The form of the present poem contains a dramatic monologue which connects it to Ulysses. Dramatic monologue means a single person goes on speaking about the events that are happening around him. The story of the lotus eaters comes from Homer's The Odyssey. This story, the theme of the poem, is taken from Homer's The Odyssey. However, the story of the mariners in Homer's work has a different effect from Tennyson's, since the latter's mariners are able to recognize morality. Their arguments are also connected to the words spoken by despair in Edmund Spenser's The Fairy Queen, Book 1. There is also an association of this poem with The Fairy Queen, Book 1. The present poem discusses the tension between isolation and being a member of a community, which also involves the reader of the poem. In the song, there are many images that are supposed to appeal to the reader. This allows for a sympathy with the mariners. When the mariners ask why everything else besides them are allowed peace, it is uncertain as to whether they are asking about humanity in general or only about their own state of being. Thank you very much. In our next video session, we will discuss the poem thoroughly.